Welcome to the Business, Finance, and Comedy Show. I am a guy surrounded by money. Today I'm interviewing Terry Samuels about schema and SEO. Now, schema is basically little pieces of data that tells search engines information about what the page wants to output. Terry, does even the existence of schema say that Google isn't legitimately reading and understanding pages?
Yes.
This is about to get very nerdy. How do you explain schema to people who think that coding is all gobbledygook?
The schema is a markup that the search engines created years ago and was kind of a forgotten thing or not even really paid attention to. And what schema is designed to do is to give the search engines, because it's strictly for the robots, it has nothing to do with the public side of the website. So it gives the search engines a better understanding about what that specific page is about. And it can tie in other stuff as far as entities, as far as different types of knows abouts and different things that you can tie in with schema for that specific page. And it really gives the search engines everything they need to know about that page. And sometimes they wouldn't even need to go to the page itself to see what's on it if the schema is done right.
Okay, so schema can be in the content HTML or separate JSON code. Which do you do and why?
Yes, we use the JSON code, and we use a plugin for WordPress called Header Footer Code Manager, and that allows us to place the specific schema on the specific pages and or posts. So we have a lot of flexibility about which pages get which schema depending on how we're stacking the schema throughout the entire website.
What is the best way for Joe Smith newbie blogger to do schema?
I would say probably start with schema.org. Schema.org is where I started, is where a lot of us started. It kind of lets you know what different categories can contain certain types of schema. A lot of the schema is in, you can see it. They give you examples for it at the bottom of the pages. So you can see whether you want to get the JSON code for this specific page. It'll give you it's a basic code to start with, but then you can start adding different components of that schema with that basic code. There's also lots of videos out there. I've got a lot of videos out there that I teach people how to do this. It does take a lot of work, which is one of the biggest reasons why most SEO people don't do this, because it's a time consuming thing at the very beginning. So once you do it, then it's pretty easy to keep maintain of it.
Informational and review pages are popular with niche bloggers. What schema could they do for each?
Um, so on blog posts, we like the article schema. Within the article schema, you can have a lot of components in there. Depending on how you write your content, if you write your content in clusters, which is very popular nowadays, then your schema for your articles can tie each of those other articles together, kind of like you would do with internal linking, but you're also doing it within schema. So say, for instance, that you do a cluster of 10 different blog posts about web design, and you did this cluster and you put this article schema on this one or two or three, and then through the same as schema, you can tie all those together. So it's one example. There's many, many, many examples you could do for article schema, blog posting, stuff like that.
Of course, with e-commerce you have price, stock, review stars, blah blah blah, but are there any lesser known fields that you think could benefit people in terms of ranking?
I think the most important thing with ecom is the brand or brands. So a lot of ecom sites have multiple brands that they sell product for, whether it's affiliate or whatever. I believe the brand schema within that is probably the most powerful. So if you sell products for, like, I have a pet site. So if I have one of my, Kurgo products, pet products, and I have that Kurgo, whatever it is, a tactical dog vest or whatever I'm selling for that brand on there. I have the Kurgo brand schema, which ties in all their products for that brand. One of my most important things with ecom is brand schema.
Is there any schema that helps with EEAT for people who think that's important?
Yes, for sure. Eat, as you know, it's all about, the experience, authority, and trust. And we definitely, you want to do that, especially when you bring in schema for the founders. This would be on a site-wide schema. You would talk about the founders, you would talk about, how long it's been in business, all the different awards it's won, all the different, accolades it has. If that founder or that person is a member of a board or associated with a medical association, all those are trust signals. So yes, we put those into schema all day long.
In what circumstances is schema the most beneficial in terms of boosting pages?
Um, I think it's better understanding of the content of that page. So like I said, if you wrote one blog post about WordPress web design or the benefits of WordPress in web design, then you would just basically have that one page about WordPress and about web design. Well, depending on the content of that page, you're probably going to be doing some comparing. You're probably going to have some FAQ section. You're probably going to link out to different other articles you might have on your website. But what schema can do is schema can actually add in the other variables of entities. So for WordPress, for web design, Joomla is an entity, Drupal is an entity, all these different variables of, what we consider like things, then those would go into schema. Now, unless you're writing an article about WordPress versus Joomla in web design, you probably wouldn't mention Joomla on the front public side of that specific blog post unless you're writing a comparable blog post. But for schema, we can put all those entities, and we have for years. We've always put those other variable entities that still have something to do with WordPress, still have something to do with website, but might not fit in the public side of that content.
Do you or others have trouble getting people to use schema since some people will not understand coding at first?
Yes, it's a big thing, especially in the larger businesses, larger, medium to small, or excuse me, medium to large size businesses. It's very hard to get an IT department or a computer department to add the schema that we do onto their websites. It is a lot of code, and a lot of most designers, most software developers, most IT people, they don't understand it. They don't understand what it's for. So that's the biggest thing that my big disclaimer to people is that you might have problems doing schema. Depending on who you work for or who your client is or whatever, depending on how you explain it, it could be an uphill battle trying to get that installed. If you use softwares like BigCommerce, Shopify is getting better at being able to put schema on. But BigCommerce or some other major e-com sites out there, platforms, we're still having trouble getting schema to show up on there. We do it through Google Tag Manager, but it's still not like having a WordPress site where you have full control of where you can place the schema.
Can anything go wrong with schema, and what do people have to be careful of?
I think the biggest thing with schema that you have to be careful of is putting the right schema on the right page. So, for instance, if you're writing about web design and you have a web design service schema, then you want to make sure that's the one on the page. You don't want to accidentally put the search engine optimization schema on the web design schema. Another thing that you don't want to do is you don't want to confuse the search engines by going too far outside of the topic. So, for instance, in your schema, yeah, you're writing about web design, about SEO and all this stuff. I specifically don't mention that. I don't want my web design and my SEO to have not really a competition, but if I'm writing about web design, I want all my credit to go towards web design. I don't want credit to go to the SEO. So I won't mention that, yeah, web design is SEO is a part of web design, on page SEO, interlinking, all that can be contributed to web design, but I don't want to confuse the topic. So,
What percentage of SEO professionals do schema and do it the right way?
oh, probably 1%, less than 1%. We do white label schema for a lot of people, so a lot of agencies. And like I said, it is a time consuming thing. And if you're not set up for it to do it on a consistent basis, it can become taxing. We actually have a whole department that does just schema. So we do take it very seriously just because we've seen the results from taking it seriously. So I think that's the biggest thing is people don't want to put in all the work and then see if it actually worked or not. So there's a lot of people out there, myself, Clint Butler, Simon Cornelius, Andrew Ansley, all of us out there do schema the right way, and we've been teaching schema, but it's still a time consuming thing. And most SEOs just install a plugin, Yoast or Rank Math or something, and that's the schema they have. And the way I tell people, one, that doesn't work, and two, you have the same schema as the other 2 or 3 or 5 million people that have that same plugin. So you're not differentiating yourself from anybody.
What have been some weird niches that you have done SEO for?
Um, I'm pretty niche down. We do a lot of medical. I like the CBD, the marijuana space a lot. I've been in home services for years. I think that I really kind of like, SEO for brand new products or brand new services. Something that's, maybe that's out there, maybe like a alarm sensor for a motor, for instance. And this alarm sensor does 20 different things that these other sensors would do for a motor. Those are the type of SEOs that I really like to get into because you're kind of creating a new topical space. So even though it falls into one bucket, it's a separate bucket of that one bucket. So it gets to be kind of fun. I don't do anything with adult or gambling or anything like that. So but I think the medical space is probably my funnest just because it's you can really do a lot of good things with that because it is all eat the helpful content. I think it's all based on more medical related, legal, financial type stuff than say a plumber. But yes, we have plumbers and we do the same thing with them.
How popular are your offline SEO courses at seouniversity.net?
We're getting ready to start our fourth on-page course. I teach a 6-week on-page course or class, excuse me, that covers on-page siloing, just teaching people a different way to do content, which is my big thing right now. I think that right now, especially today with the increase in I think that people really need to pay more attention to their content. They need to pay attention to why they're producing this content. I think the old days of producing 2 or 3 or 4 blogs a month just as a check a box off your list of things to do for your client, I think those days are over. So, but SEO University was designed to teach people different aspects of SEO. So right now we do my class, which is an on-page and schema class, and then I teach a separate schema class with Clint Butler. And that one's a 1 week class. It's 3 days in 1 week, and it's a couple hours a day. I don't have the schedule in front of me, but those are the biggest things we're doing with the university right now. Is I started this because of all the different audits that I do. I do audits for large companies, small companies, whatever. Most of the mistakes that I was seeing was all based around on page. So I figured I might as well take my SOP from Solterra and turn it into a class and teach it. So, like I said, we've done 3 in the past 4 or 6 months, maybe 7 months. There's 10 people limited per class. So they're not big classes. They're classes designed to have Q&A, ask questions. I really want people to understand what I teach. So that's the biggest thing.
What do you most enjoy about speaking at SEO Spring Training?
Um, that's our baby. That's our conference. My wife and I started SEO Spring Training back in 2019. This is our 5th year. We do one big one a year, and then we do 2 smaller masterminds in different parts of the country. The big one is in Scottsdale every year, coming up in 2 weeks, actually. I started it because, again, I wanted people to have a conference that they can go there and truly see the value, truly get questions answered, truly get unstuck, meet new people, build out their network. And this business is there's so many different aspects to search engine optimization, digital marketing, that when depending on where you're at in your walk, I wanted to provide a conference that would say, okay, yeah, I want to get better at on page, so I'm going to go to the on page mastermind room, or I want to get better at link building. I haven't done much link building, so I'm going to go to the link building mastermind room. So it's a great conference. It's one of our passions. Again, our passion for Elizabeth and I and our kids. That's Saltera. It's me and my wife and 3 of our 5 kids. Our passion is to teach others, and it has been for years, and it just keeps growing. And it's a very humbling thing to teach people.
I have presented at a few disability conferences over the years. Hopefully you pay better. Who have been your favorite speakers over the years?
I mean, I don't know. We try to have different speakers every year, just to kind of mix everything up and introduce new people to new people, so to speak. We've had people come in like Marty Marion. He was he was the first speaker that we introduced in 2019, and he does things differently around SEO, and it kind of opened a lot of eyes, including my own. And I still get people coming up to me that saw him at the first 2, and just mentioning how great seeing Marty is and learning from Marty. Marty's actually coming back this year to open up this year, which we're super excited about. But yeah, I think there's been a few speakers come through. Obviously, I mean, I like them all, but it depended on where I was at in my growth. So this is my 14th year, so I'm looking at things differently. As far as agency growth, I'm looking at more AI type stuff now to see what I can automate within my agency. I'm teaching on page and schema at SEO Spring Training, but me personally, I'm going to be going to see other people there that will help me in my next phase of growth.
Where can people follow you?
SalteraSite.com is our main agency site. SEOspringtraining.com, SEOuniversity.net. Reach out to me on Facebook. I don't have many I'm pretty close to the 5,000 friend mark, but I do have a page that I also teach in. Just a fan page, I guess it's called, just under Terry Samuels. So just reach out to me. I'm sure I'm pretty easy to find, I think. I'm in a lot of groups, Signals Lab, all kinds of different groups. So if you're in the SEO space, you could probably find me pretty easy.
I would like to thank Terry for the interview. People watching can like, comment, share, subscribe and whatever else you do to videos if you're watching in the future. If you don't find notifications annoying, you can turn notifications on.